Hello and welcome to the first instalment of Baxi Cam. In the first episode I'm going to be taking a look at this little boiler behind me, which is a main 12 HEA. Could also be a Baxi Solo HE, and it could also be a Potterton Pro Max SL. They're little heat only boilers. They've been called a lot of things over the years, very much like myself actually. So this is in response to Anthony Buckley, who left a comment on my colleague's diverter valve video asking how you take the insulation panels out. Now, in order to do that, you're going to witness me covering off a few parts. So I'll be removing the condense trap, I'll be taking out the fan, I'll be taking out the sump, and ultimately I'll be removing the insulation panels as well. There are a couple of seals that you'd need to replace along the way, but I will reference those during the video. So let's get to it. Okay then guys and girls, we'll make a start. So I've already done my electrical safe isolation, so I know that there's no electrical supply going to the boiler, and I've also removed the white outer casing as well. Okay, so you don't need to do any draining down or anything like that. So what you will see me doing, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to remove the fan, the condense trap, a few other bits along the way. All right, and we're not going to use a great deal of tools as well. So I'm going to use a Phillips screwdriver and also a 10mm socket, and we should be okay with just that. So first things first, we'll take 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll undo those, so you don't need to take them out completely, because they're just like a quarter turn screw, that's all they are. Undo those, like so. And pop them out of the way. Right then, now we can see the fan and the condense trap at the back, and that's what we're going to be taking out first of all. Alright, so what I like to do is start at the bottom and work my way up. So at the bottom of the boiler, I'm going to undo this connection to the condense pipe here. Get him out. Unspin the locking nut, there he is, and then take the electrical connections off the fan, remove the 2 black wires off the fan overheat stat, and disconnect the white wire going to the condense trap. And then with your Phillips screwdriver, we want to be slackening off this screw here. We don't need to take him out all the way, so this is the screw that secures the burner feed pipe in. Once we've done that, we can undo these wing nuts, and once we've got the wing nuts out of the way, then we'll be able to drop the fan like so. Okay, so that's your A-rated fan. We can pop him to one side for now, and then when you burn the feed pipe, just give him a bit of a twist and a pull. He'll come out for you. And then let's go for the condense trap next. So we'll pop the earth wire off, and we want to unscrew this plastic nut here. So we'll unscrew him, and as we've already undone the connections on the outside of the boiler, all we need to do is pull him towards us, and he should come out. Alright, so you could be doing this on a service, couldn't you? So if your condense trap's gone all mucky, and you want to wash him out in the sink, you know, just empty him, get him nice and clean, and then refill him. And it's really important that you don't get this area wet here. Now on your one, what you won't have is a wire going in between the 2 connections. We put that on there just to replicate the fault. So it's really important just to not get that wet there. Because if you do, because this one is linked in series with the flame sensing electrode, what you'll find is your boiler will fire up and go off a few times, and eventually it will just lock itself out on an ignition fault. Because as far as the boiler is concerned, the trap has backed up. Okay, but I mean, what it probably is you've got these connections wet here, so you'd have to take it back out, dry it all off, and place him back in. So while I've got the trap out, I just want to show you a little tip on how I actually pop them back in. So because this is a plastic thread, there is a good chance that when you've got it, you know, on top of the condense trap and you're trying to squeeze it all in, you end up cross-threading that thing. So what I do is I take it off, and I put it on flat like that, and then I'll screw him up, so I know I haven't cross-threaded him. Okay, then I'll grab my trap again, there he is, and then put the trap in, like so. And what I want to do then is bend the rubber bit towards me, bend him towards me, and just push him back. There he is. And then you just tighten him up properly. You can pop your zip tie around him. But obviously we've got to remove him. But that is how I get the traps back in without running the risk of cross-threading that plastic nut. I'll chuck him out of the way there. Right then, there we go. So I'm looking at this little retaining bar here. So I've got 2 screws, 1, 2. I don't need to take them out fully, just need to slacken them off. And then what I can do with the retaining bar, just move it to the left and just kind of unloop him from the screws and drop him down. So moving on up, I'm looking at the electrode assembly. So let's remove the 2 screws on here. There's one. And there's the other one. And we can just kind of swing him down. Right, so I want to be removing these 4 screws now. So let's take these off. And once these are out of the way, we'll be able to see the front part of the heat exchanger and also the burner as well. So again, you could be doing this on a service. But as I mentioned before, you're going to need some seals if you really want to tackle this job. And the first of those seals you're about to see now. So if I pop him off, spin him round, there we go. So we've got our red combustion box doors there. Sorry, red combustion box door seals even. And they should be nice and spongy like these here. So if I was doing a service on this and I could see these had started to flake away, I'd be replacing those seals. Because if you don't, when your boiler fires up, you'll get excessive heat kind of escaping because the seal's no good. And that little fan overheat stat we mentioned earlier is sat about there. So the heat from there will basically make that overheat stat pop. So it won't have continuity anymore. It'll go open circuit and the boiler will lock itself on overheat. Alright, so if you're getting nuisance overheat issues on this boiler, don't automatically assume that it's a system related fault. It is definitely worth checking these red door seals. I'll pop some part numbers at the end of the video. Well, I'll say me, our media guy will for you, because he's good with things like that. Right, where are we? So I reckon now we can start undoing the 4 bolts that are securing the sump to the bottom of the heat exchanger. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and there should be one at the back there, but for the purpose of the video I've already took him out. So this is where you're going to need your 10mm socket, and we'll get the 10mm socket on and start undoing them. Well, that one should drop out with a bit of luck. Pop him down, one at the back. Pop that one out, so he should come out now, hopefully. There he is. And then this one here. Yeah, he should drop out. Perfect. So if you get to this stage and you've undone all the 4 bolts and your sump is still stuck on the bottom of the heat exchanger, if you grab your screwdriver with that end, just give it a bit of a tap like that, and then you should drop down. So I'm just holding onto the insulation panel there. Well, that is the sump we moved out of the boiler. Let me just put him to one side. I'll talk about him a bit more in a minute. And now our insulation panels can slide down. So the bottom section, that's the bigger panel there, as you can see. You just pop him out, and they live in little metal trays, they do. And then the upper section is a little bit smaller, but that lives in a little metal tray as well, and they just kind of hooking together. Alright, so now instead of just looking at the front section of the heat exchanger, if we have a look underneath, you can see the whole of the heat exchanger pretty much. So you know, if you're really doing a thorough service on it, you could get a brush up there and give them a good clean out if you wanted to. Don't use white vinegar and water on these ones. You'd just be using you know, a bit of water, if anything. Alright, so let's grab the sump again. So there's the sump, okay, and that's the second seal that you'd be looking at changing, okay, because that can also give you nuisance overheat lockout on this boiler, because if it's kind of torn apart there, or it's fell to pieces, and again you'll be getting excessive heat coming out of here, tripping that fan start off again. Okay, so guys and girls, I hope you found the video useful. If you have got any things you'd like us to cover, please feel free to get in touch. Until next time, take care of each other. Cheers.